I really love Monster Madness, I came up with a list of my top 10 desires. It is a top 10 wish list of things for this year's Monster Madness. Now, the thing is, after writing this list, I had to revise it because on Cinemassacre posted a video explaining what the theme this year would be, the Schlockorama. These are the top 10 things I want to see in Cinemassacre's Monster Madness Camp Cult. Number 10, Slugs. Now, Brad Jones, the Cinema Snob, went over this in detail in his review, but I really want to see James' take on it, because it's definitely my favorite of the Nature Gone Awry films. Yes. Number 9. It's called The Brain That Wouldn't Die. It's also called The Head That Wouldn't Die. It's an old movie that is completely insane. I'm just going to call it that as my favorite public domain horror movie of all time. Yes, I'm including Night of the Living Dead. It is, okay, it's a classic, but I like The Brain That Wouldn't Die better. It's just a little bit more lighthearted. Number 8, William Castle made a movie called Mr. Sardonicus. Now, there are people who know what Mr. Sardonicus is and people who don't know what Mr. Sardonicus is. Number 7, The Blair Witch Project. Now, he mentioned it before, and he obviously favors The Last Broadcast, and I really do like The Last Broadcast. I really like The Blair Witch Project better. I like the mythos behind it. I even like the sequel a little bit. So, talking a little bit more about The Blair Witch Project, that would really make me happy. Number 6, Terror Vision. This is one of those things that was on my list originally, but this really fits under the category of schlock. It's about a monster that comes out of a television and eats people. And it is the most gory and disturbing, nightmare-inducing thing I probably ever saw as a child. When you'll see it, you'll know. Terror Vision. Number 5, Tarantella. Yes, the movie about a giant 20-30 story tall tarantula that terrorizes a tiny town. It's just a great fun movie. It's certainly better than some of the other stuff in the time, like the giant Gila monster. Definitely the top of the heap in that specific niche. Number 4, The Wasp Woman. Okay, another old, very simple horror movie. I really like it. I like how the story progresses. I like how it's kind of an Icarus type of story, but it's still kind of crazy. It's not really about a woman who looks like a wasp or turns into a wasp or anything. Someone who, like I said, like Icarus, flies a little too close to the sun and gets greedy and end up turning themselves into a monster. The reason why I want to see it in Monster Madness is because, knowing James, I want to see him make a reference to QB from the Darkstalkers / Vampire Savior video games. I think that's the kind of thing he'd do, and I'd like to see it happen. Number 3, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. This should need no introduction. This should need no explanation on why it would be in Camp Cult. It is probably the ultimate cult horror movie period. I prefer the sequel, Return of the Killer Tomatoes. I think that's hilarious. It has a young George Clooney in it being goofy. I think it's fantastic. But the original, to hear that one talked about in a Master Madness would be awesome. Number 2. Killer Klowns from Outer Space. Everything that applies to Killer Tomatoes also applies to Killer Klowns from Outer Space. Number 1. And for the last one, I would like Gamera movies. Gamera movies, and more Gamera movies. Everything about Gamera, it's like Godzilla, only more messed up in a 60s dropping acid kind of way. He's, the destroyer of worlds, but he is a friend to children. And yeah, MST3K has, gone deep into that. I want to see James get into that. I want him to not only review some Gamera movies, like more than one, but I want to hear his whole thesis on what Gamera is. I am really, really curious to know that. So more than anything else, that's my number 1 pick.